Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Husker247 Daily. I'm Michael Bruntz. Brian Christopherson joins me to let's just dive right into the news in the morning, Brian. Dayton Raiola, Nebraska's longtime quarterback commit in the 2026 class, is no longer in the class. Decommits this morning, officially a few weeks before National Signing Day, the early signing period. I think on its face, you know, probably not a huge loss for the class, but I think more kind of what it represents, just given the last name and everything. That's probably where most of the intrigue and discussion lies now. Um, let's dive into just the decommitment first off. What's kind of your read on it, and especially I think in the context of what Nebraska's quarterback room is kind of shaping to look like right now, and then also, what it's going to look like next season and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, the ripple effect speculation that everyone is going to have is obvious with what it means with his brother, if it means anything at all. Obviously, we don't know. So it's just at this point, it'd just be talking to talk. But as far as just like if you look at his specific situation as a prospect and Nebraska's quarterback setup, I could see where it would be a difficult spot for him because you got Trey Taylor as a 27 commit. Everybody talks about Trey Taylor more. That's just the way it's been. Part of that's because Trey is so outgoing with his recruitment of other guys in a class that has more activity to it. But also, Trey was at the 7-on-7 stuff and put on a show, with some of those guys. And I think because of that, imagination sort of danced with him in particular. And then, in the last few weeks, because of Dylan's injury, TJ Lateef, who honestly was one of the more in the background true freshman quarterbacks I could ever remember when he first got here, because everybody was focused so much on Dylan. That's changed that whole storyline. And, I think there's people who think if TJ plays really well, like he did in his first start against UCLA, it is interesting, like what you do at that position in 26. And there would have to probably be a competition in that scenario. You always want to have competition, but people know what I'm talking about. Like Lateef, I think, has injected himself as a real player in the conversation here as a quarterback possibility at Nebraska in a way that maybe some of us didn't envision, like even as recently as the summer.
Yeah, no, I think the math has definitely changed with Lateef, where if you're a freshman quarterback coming in, what's the resume prior to the start of November? It's a couple of games of mop up duty, a year of practices, but definitely not that kind of game action that you're going to point to and say, like, this is absolutely the guy that's number 2 or number 1 or wherever he's going to fall in the pecking order based on what happens. So now, I mean, you've got some November games as a starter on the resume. Played well at UCLA. We'll see what happens against Penn State and Iowa, 2 very tough defenses. A bowl game waiting there as well. And I don't know. I mean, I do wonder too if there's a little bit of, how is this? What's this offense going to kind of look like, going forward? I mean, is it going to be more of a pro style quarterback type offense? Is it going to be a little bit more open to quarterbacks that have the ability to run? Like, I think that's also part of the conversation. But definitely, it's turned into a crowded quarterback room, and that's a good thing for Nebraska to have. Maybe not so much if you're, the new guy coming into that group, and you got Marcos Davilo too in that room as right now your third stringer. The coaches were complimentary about what he's done, so I mean, he's at least got another year in the system under his belt too. So it's crowded, and I can see where you kind of have to make a decision of, what do the next couple of years look like for me if I'm entering that mix? And that's tough for Dayton Raiola. That's tough for a lot of quarterbacks that would be coming into that as a true freshman.
It's tough, and I said this off air. I'll say it on air. I think it's hard sometimes. Siblings at the same school, like a guy who's like a couple years behind his brother. I'm speaking in general, but when there have been success stories, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of times it just doesn't happen quite like for the second guy like it did the first guy, or vice versa. Like you don't get both usually. You don't get the equal slice of the pie, you know. So I think there's maybe a little of that, but yeah, it is one of the more interesting situations we've seen covering this team, Bruns, in the sense that I don't know that we've ever had a quarterback commit like Trey Taylor so far in advance of his arrival, who's been so anticipated by the fan base. And so that, I mean, you can't help but hear that. And obviously Latif's got some mustard behind him now. So it is interesting. The important thing here, and I want to make clear, like, I don't know what this means, if it means anything at all for Dylan. So we'll see what happens there. Clearly, we'd be naive or putting our head in the sand if people didn't ponder that. That's what the whole conversation is going to be around the water cooler. Like, does that mean something there? We don't know. But from Dayton's perspective, I get it. And I also now understand why on Monday, Matt Rule at his press conference was talking very directly about Glenn Thomas, what a great quarterbacks coach he is. And if I were a recruit, I would like to play for that guy. Makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, the Glenn Thomas random throw in, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that I get that. So we'll transition to something else here, but the decommitment there brings Nebraska's 2026 class down to 9 commits. Obviously a small class. Matt Rule said they're probably only going to be adding 1 or 2 more. You're going to see a lineup of junior college official visitors for the Iowa game, a high school official visitor too. But one other piece of kind of recruiting news, even though that class is small at 9 players, they now have a 5-star recruit in the class in Florida cornerback Danny Odem. 247 Sports did a re-rank of the 2026 class. Odem up to number 31 overall in the country. That's just inside 5-star status. They go out to 32 being 5-star prospects. What have you kind of made of this commitment? Because he's been a really steady riser throughout the summer and fall. I know our guy down in Florida, Andrew Ivins, really likes what Odem is as just a physical corner, a guy that's a potential, first day type contributor. But Nebraska's held off a number of top programs to get the commitment first of all, and then has continued to hold them off as the fall's gone along. What do you kind of make of that news?
I remember his commitment day. We didn't know how that was going to go, and Ohio State was right there, and I think they thought they had a good shot. And I mean, who's who have wanted him, still want him. The good news is, and I know it's recruiting, anything can happen. He recently, just last week, said he's shutting it down, and was very vocal about it. Like as vocal, by vocal I mean on social media about it. And so this is a big deal. And I also think if Nebraska holds him, as we suspect, as a 5-star prospect, it's an example of Rules talked about how we got the resources to be at that table with the big boys in college football and all that stuff. And I think you'd have to say has to be a little bit at display to have a player like that in your recruiting class in this day and age. And so I don't know, when's the last time? I know Winery was a 5-star, but actually went to Missouri first, and of course Raiola. But besides Dylan, who was the last 5-star for Nebraska on signing day, Bruns? Do you know offhand?
I don't. I didn't know this was going to be. I didn't know
No,
this was
don't
going to
worry
be
about
trivia
it.
time, Brian. Jeez.
I'm sorry, I caught you off guard. We'll put it up on our board or something. But bottom line is, it's not something that's happened here a ton.
No.
And so that's why pretty significant news. When I saw it, I was like, man, that should give people a jolt. Like, I know it's just a ranking, but it's nice to see a player that's been well respected throughout his process. The people are evaluating him have seen it and say, no, he's not just stopping in place. Like, he's getting better and better, and he belongs with the top guys. And usually they're right on those guys too. I know people knock it, but usually those 5-star guys end up pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting that just with the way things are kind of shaping up for Nebraska, Torrey Pittman, current commit in 27, composite 5-star, I believe right now. Trey Taylor sitting there in the 30s in terms of his ranking in the 27 class as well. So off to a really good start there. But, for as small as Nebraska's class has been, I mean, when you kind of break down that average per recruit, I think Nebraska's got a couple early difference makers in the class and some guys that down the road can maybe develop into contributors there. So,
when it's a class that small, Bruns, like if you're in it, they want you. Like, you've got something that they really think and is going to be useful to them. We're way past the take guys. I don't think that's ever really been a part of the rule era, but especially now, and especially in this class. So, like, even the guys who are like a 3-star or whatever, if they're in it, this coaching staff is thinking like that's a guy that belongs here and can help us pretty soon.
So we'll be discussing that, the Dayton Raiola decommitment, much, much more at Husker247. We've got the Hypecast coming later this week, leading up to the matchup with Penn State. Keep it locked here for all the latest.